Welcome into the official. We've got a great show for you this week as usual. And we're going to take you all the way down to the bottom of recruiting lists. And while last week we updated your top 10s for each position, this week we are going to talk about, we're considering them unranked. So guys who are 3 stars or below in some cases, but really had to be at least out of the top 50 in their position. And for some of the wide receivers, we're talking beyond ranked 100th at their position. So kind of 3 stars and below, emphasizing low 3 stars, and in some cases completely unranked. And hopefully for the most part, guys we haven't really talked about before, but have surfaced recently as interesting prospects. So without further ado, this is the official. Okay, here we go. Good to see you guys. And we've got a lot of names to go through and a lot of video clips, so I'm going to make this quick. Go check out homefieldapparel.com. This is a great place to get anything from St. Peter's, Colorado School of Mines merchandise all the way up to Georgia and Alabama. They've got unique vintage I'm struggling. Unique vintage logos and schemes that they put on the shirts and pants and hoodies and hats that is unique and very interesting for you. So if you've never been before, Campus 2 Canton is your promo code to get 15% off your first purchase. And then we also have to tell you about campus2canton.com, the website that runs this whole program. And you can join there for as little as $2.99 per month with tools and everything to make you better at college fantasy football. But also if you're into Dynasty, if you want to know who is in college now, it's going to help you in your Devy and Dynasty leagues. We've got all sorts of tools and data to help you make those decisions as well. Again, $2.99 gets you in the door per month. But then after that, there's upgrades for all the bells and whistles. With that being said, we've got unranked or low 3 stars, guys we haven't really talked about before who have made their presence known for us. And we're going to go into those. Let's just get right to it because I know we have a lot of names to discuss. And I do need to pull up this other screen. I will eventually, I think, have to edit this one a little bit. That's fine. I got 2 weeks. Okay. So bringing up the QBs, we're calling them sleeper QBs. Basically little ranked, unranked, low 3 stars, however you want to call it. And we're going to go name by name. We're actually going to try to touch every single one of these. Starting with Matt, Arrington Maiden. I haven't heard of this guy. I'm going to roll his little 20-second clip. Give us the lowdown on why you've got him in here for your sleeper QB.
Yeah, I think he was actually on the G5 show maybe, but we haven't talked a lot about him. Quarterback out of Texas, 6'3", 205 pounds, big body, big arm, and pretty mobile on top of it too. His completion percentage went up from 57% as a junior to 67% this year. Something you definitely want to see him getting a little bit more refined there. Going to Memphis, which is a pretty CFF friendly spot, not a ton in front of him on the depth chart, so he could make an impact there.
All right. Good stuff. Yeah, Memphis is a fun place for offense. It has been for quite a while. David, Jared Hollins is a guy on your list. I see we have Arrington Maiden twice. Jared Hollins, what's interesting about this guy?
He's got a really good arm, I thought. I think he hits like 49 miles per hour, which is definitely solid. And a nice frame too. Like he's like 6'4", 190. Should fill out, get even stronger. He's a good improviser. We'll see how. I know your boy Gio Lopez is at South Alabama, so it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I don't know. I like his game in general. Hits all the statistical markers I like to see too.
Yeah, and Gio Lopez did get some run as a true freshman. Like to see that as well. So hopefully he enters year 2, maybe as the presumed starter. So we'll see about that. Going to me, Noah Lugo, a kid who's actually been on my radar for a minute, and he is going to BYU. I think when I first looked at him, he didn't have that many great offers, and now he's going to wind up at BYU, which we know is kind of a, high-end G5, a lot of years, not this year. But he kind of looks a lot like your classic BYU QB, right? I mean, he's mobile enough, but I wouldn't say he's like astonishingly mobile. He's got a good enough arm, but kind of just seems to make like a gamer. And then a lot of his throws, I didn't see a lot of high difficulty throws on his tape. I mean, they are kind of like that last one, a lot of times kind of straight down the field to a guy who's in single coverage or whatever. But seems like an interesting guy when you're digging all the way down, outside the top 50, top 100 QBs. You're not always going to get a perfect product, but I think Noah Lugo shows some promise and is an interesting guy over at BYU. All right, moving back over. Let's see. I'm going to give David a chance to talk about Brad Jackson because you guys have a few overlaps, and I gave Matt the first overlap. So Brad Jackson is your QB3 with Arrington Maiden at your. I mean, this isn't in order, but you had Arrington Maiden listed as well, who we already talked about. Long story short, David, tell us about Brad Jackson.
He is very experienced. I believe he's a 4-year starter, at least 3-year starter. He's got tons and tons of reps on, and he's gotten progressively more efficient. But he hits 50 miles per hour ball velocity. He's mobile and a pretty smart player, good improviser. But like Texas State is like an awesome offense at this point. So like if he can become the starter there, like he's going to be a good fantasy player.
Texas State, I know, and we've got to watch out because you have to think that I think their coaching situation might change because that's what happens in G5. But right now, Texas State is great. I'll have a guy later I'm going to talk about going to Texas State. Very fun offense right now. Matt, Shea Smith, your third and final QB out of the sleepers here. Tell us about this guy.
Yeah, he's another quarterback out of Texas. Very big body, 6'1", 215. And I really like his arm. I think he throws really pretty ball. But his passing stats leave a bit to be desired. On the ground, he's a 1,000-yard rusher with 20 touchdowns, just rushing, which is really impressive. He currently has offers from the two biggest being Houston and SMU, which I think would both be pretty good spots for him to at least be a CFF producer. And maybe if he gets developed, he could have some F-ups on top of it. But at the moment, the passing stats are pretty not great. I believe below 60% completion percentage. So I'm not super confident with there at the moment, but he does throw a really nice ball. I really like that.
Okay, that sounds great for Shea Smith. So I got two guys then to finish it up. Jace Stuckey, who maybe didn't download the video, which is unfortunate because he's very fun. I'm not seeing it here. He's a dual threat guy, headed to Eastern Michigan, EMU, and he's really just checks he could be like a super fun MAC G5 guy. 800, I think, rushing yards over the past in each of the past 2 seasons in high school. So you're talking about like 1,600 rushing yards over 2 seasons. And his passing stats are kind of good enough, but he looks on tape, strong enough arm. He looks athletic and mobile, certainly for the MAC purposes. And I just think it's a guy who, could be just that next MAC QB that, wrecks college fantasy, which is obviously very fun and kind of what you're looking for when you're looking at G5 QB for the most part. And then we've got Eric Handley, who just looks to me like he's got a really nice arm and makes some kind of what I would consider big time throws, but really has a weird situation going on. Like offers are not coming in. He's undeclared. And then Kentucky was sniffing around at some point, but that's a big throw there on the money downfield. There's a couple crossfield throws that look really good on this tape as well. Not very mobile per the stats, but just an interesting arm. He's ranked very low, and I know Kentucky was sniffing around, but like I don't really know what's going on with his offers. So that could be a guy that just falls off. I guess we'll have to see, if he ends up getting an actionable offer to a place that's reasonable. No backstory there. I don't know if any of you guys have backstory on him somehow. I know you do a lot of additional research from time to time. But we can move on to sleeper running backs here, which are always fun. And again, running backs, the building blocks are speed and size. So, Matt, wow, you guys both have Cornell Hatcher. A little overlap here. But, Matt, go ahead with Cornell Hatcher. And
How about, since we both have overlap on another guy, how about he takes Hatcher and I'll take Salahadin?
Okay, David, you ready to go? We'll go straight to Hatcher here for David.
Yeah, Hatcher's an interesting one. I don't know why he's overlooked because, well, I have a theory, I guess. He's like a one-sport guy. There's no track numbers on him. This is actually the play where he hits 21.8 miles per hour, I believe. He's 5'11", 205. You know, he works really hard in the gym. He's got like a really good clean and all that stuff. Like he's a strong guy. He's super productive. He had over 100 yards against Mater Dei. I think he's averaging close to 200 yards on the ground. He moves real well. Has pretty good lower body, like ankle and knee flexibility. I thought he can weave through traffic. He's not like a great pass catcher or anything, but he can catch. So he just got an offer from Wyoming. I hope he takes it, honestly, because Wyoming is actually has been a really good spot for running backs over the last, five or so years. So, but his offers are real thin. I don't really understand it.
Yeah, I was just looking Air Force and then a bunch of like Ivy League, Cornell, I think, and some of that. So interesting prospect, though. I thought the tape looked pretty good just in that 30-second clip there. Matt, we'll just throw it over to you. Allah here. You guys both have him, Salahadin Allah, and tell us what's good about him. You guys both concur, so he's got to be good.
Yeah, he's a bit of a mystery man still because we just don't have any stats on him at all. But he looks very good on tape. He's very fast. I believe he's 5'11", 205, and we got him at 21.4 miles per hour. So he's definitely got plenty of juice. He moves decently laterally. Just a total home run threat. And he's committed to Sam Houston State, so pretty off the radar. But they are G5 now. So yeah. Maybe I can't imagine they'll have a more athletic back in their room, and hopefully he can go on to be a pretty good CFF producer there, or maybe even transfer up if he gets good play there.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a picture on 24/7. But like you said, Sam Houston, one of the better FCS schools over the last probably 2 decades, and made the jump up to G5 this year. Let's see. I want to talk about, I'll go Joseph Dodds. He's listed number 1, although probably not my favorite of the trio that I have listed. I liked his junior tape better. I watched some senior stuff today as a reminder, and it looked a little bit less. I was a little less enthusiastic about it, but anyway, so he's just a bigger guy. He's 210. He hits over 21 miles per hour, or right at 20.9. However, he has not been very efficient. We're looking at under 7 yards per carry. That's usually a big red flag. But as you saw there, some return skills. He does have breakaway speed. When he hits a seam, he can pull away from safeties, and that makes sense with about 21 mile per hour max speed. I do think he runs a little upright, and his movements, I wish he was a little more decisive, which is a little hard to understand, but what I mean by that, I guess. But some of his movements just seem a little rounded, maybe a little soft. Not that he's soft, but his movements are not like sharp with a good directional cut. We'll see. He's going to Baylor, so a P5 offer there. But really got on my list 210 and 21 miles per hour breakaway speed, like that combination. All right, let's move over to Matt. Colton Nero. Colton Nero, have not heard this name very much. So Tell us about it.
So he actually has our top athleticism scored running back in the class currently. He's 5'11", 228, and he can hit a verified 21.4 miles per hour, which at his size is pretty ridiculous. He's also participated in, I think, total 4 sports while he's in high school, which is something we like to see. He's actually teammates with Perry Thompson out there in Foley, Alabama, and he's really kind of stolen the show there statistically, at least. He's in 10 games, 240 carries, 2,043 yards, and 25 touchdowns, 8.5 yards per carry. So I think there's a lot to like from the physical profile. Production's great. I think he moves, relatively fluid for someone of his size, at least, along with the breakaway speed too. He's lacking in offers a bit at the moment. USF, I think, is the only G5 or higher team to offer him in season. But I think for a lot of these guys we're going to talk about, the offers are going to start rolling in after early National Signing Day. I think that's when teams start taking a second look at some of these senior risers.
I think that's exactly my hypothesis as well. I do think I see an offer listed from UAB for Nero, which would be, you didn't mention that, right? Like that would be a pretty great landing spot.
No, I just said USF.
Yeah. So, I mean, but either one of those I think would be pretty fun. And all right, moving on to David. Bryson Donaldson. I feel like we've talked about this name before, maybe once. But yeah, take it away with Donaldson here as a sleeper running back.
Based on his junior stats, he has a 97th percentile production score in the running back model. He isn't like overly athletic, honestly. Like he's 36th percentile, but he's 6 foot 205. He'll be plenty big. He can catch passes. Good contact balance. Not like super bursty or whatever, but like I think he's good enough. And like a lot of it is like landing spot. Like I'm always going to go for the systems that I like, and Fresno State is a good system as long as Tedford's there. They've had a bunch of productive dudes. I don't know the room especially well. I think that the 2 guys that have been getting the bulk of the carries this year are more upperclassmen. So, if he can weasel his way in, get some action, maybe year 1, and then really take off year 2. He's got some upside for CFF side.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, he had Boise State and Fresno State offers, so the class of the Mountain West sniffing around that, which I think for CFF, that's great news. All right, the next 2 guys I like better than the first guy I talked about, so it's not necessarily in order of preference, but I really like Jamal Wiley. The biggest problem with him, to me, is pretty bad efficiency, especially this year with sub 6 yards per carry, which is a huge red flag. But look right here. A hurdle, keeps going, continues forward momentum. That was one of the first things I saw when I flipped on his junior tape. I think it's super impressive. He's a creative runner. I always like that when guys are doing stuff that, kind of makes you say, oh, wow, that was different, like that hurdle. And there's some other things where he shows, kind of power and speed, can run around, can take hits, can bully through guys as well. And he certainly has breakaway speed. He's 6 feet, 215, hits over 21 miles per hour. So those are all good building blocks. I have some questions. I haven't watched full games of him necessarily, but I have questions about a low yards per carry. That's obviously a concern. I think he's got juice and he's got a lot of tools to work with, and he's got a P5 offer going to Cal right now, which Jaden Ott has obviously done great work at Cal right away. And then we've got DJ Williams, a guy who's going to the MAC. Ball State is where he is headed. And we saw Carson Steele go crazy at Ball State for 2 years before transferring to UCLA. This guy's different. I mean, Carson Steele is a lot bigger. He's 5'10", 195. DJ Williams is. He hits 21 miles per hour. He's got 8.5 yards per carry. So I like that. He's, one of the more efficient guys that I'm going to talk about tonight. And I think he's pretty sudden. I think he's got definite long speed, hitting 21, and shows right there, like fighting off a guy on the goal or on the sideline to get in the goal line. I think he shows some interesting play strength. It came into play right there, fighting off a guy for the last 10 yards to get into the end zone instead of getting pushed out of bounds. You'll see, he runs away from his competition, but I don't think it's great competition where he's going to high school. but I just think he's kind of shows a lot well-rounded running back. DJ Williams for Ball State. I'm pretty excited about him. He could be a flyer you throw into the last little bit of the draft or waiver watch guy if you hear that he's making some news as he gets to campus. All right. Those are our running backs. And then we will go to wide receivers and round this thing out. But I feel like receivers are the hardest here to really get hits. I feel like running backs, we've done a really nice job over the past few years. Quarterbacks are hard no matter where it is, but I feel like we've hit a few. Wide receiver, when you go down to the 3 stars, I think become a little bit difficult. Personally, I go into Georgia, Florida, and Texas, and I'm mining 3-star wide receivers out of those states specifically. But here we go. Here's our list. Looks like no overlap. So we'll get to talk about 9 whole names here for the sleeper wide receivers. David, Jeremiah Melvin, take it away.
Yeah, this is Wake Forest. They're taking another athlete, the basketball convert, and going to see what they can do with them. They've been pretty successful, kind of a gimmicky system, but he's not going to be for everyone for sure. You know, he's like the 6'5" receiver, but he can really drop his weight. I don't know if we'll get to see his route running, but honestly, his route running is not terrible. It's not terrible. He's got a dog in him there. You see that? Nice block there. But yeah, crazy catch radius. Wake Forest needs to like get back on track. They've been absolutely dreadful this year. They need to figure out who's going to be the quarterback. Maybe it'll be Jeremy Hecklinski or they could get a transfer or something. But like, I don't think he's like A.T. Perry or anything like that. But like, there's some shades of it. I guess I think that's their thought process at least.
A.T. Perry got a touchdown in the NFL this week, I'm pretty sure, from Jameis Winston. So that's not terrible if he turns out there for a 3-star guy. All right, Matt, Jay-Sean Riggle. I don't know.
I think Riggle.
Riggle, that sounds good to me. Tell us about him.
I don't remember if we talked about him on the G5 show, but he's someone who's been on our radar for a little bit now. Super well-built running backs or wide receiver, 6 foot, 200 pounds. I was going to say he's definitely a candidate to potentially convert to running back. I mean, he's just got those massive thighs already. At the moment, he's mostly just functions as a gadget guy. I mean, he is deadly with the ball in his hands. He can hit well over 21 miles per hour. He's a state champion in the 110 hurdles, I believe, out of Alabama. So I think the athletic profile is really good. Committed to South Alabama. We definitely like that offense, and hopefully he can go there and be a pretty solid CFF piece at the least.
Yeah, man. South Alabama has produced like top 10 wide receiver in each of the past 3 seasons. I mean, and they've changed names. Lacey this year. Before that, the guy who ended up getting drafted in the NFL by the Cowboys, his name escapes me, but legitimate high end CFF production out of wide receiver from South Alabama. So you like to see that. My first guy is going to be Dakarai Anderson. He is a wide receiver, kind of smallish, out of the state of Georgia, which, like I said, these are the places I go to find 3 stars. He just shows a lot of juice. I mean, acceleration, top end speed. He's got, I believe, a 10.7 100 meter. So you know that top end speed is there. I can't remember exactly what that equates to. We don't have a miles per hour, but it would be, good enough. I think over 21 probably. But yeah, 10.7, really, really good 100 meter. He's got that breakaway speed. I think he's headed to Cincinnati. So, I like that. Not a place with a tremendous depth chart. Should get a chance to use that speed early in his career. And just shows a lot of acceleration. I mean, there's tons of separation on his tape. He's always kind of a lot of green around him because he's finding open spots, and just seems like an interesting guy, even though he is small. But, we've seen smaller guys have success in the more recent iteration of football with rule changes and all that. So not super worried about it, especially at the college level. All right, back to David for Terrence Smith. I do not know this name, I don't think.
Yeah, I was trying to bring up some new guys that we haven't talked about. Terrence Smith, he plays quarterback. He's got crazy speed. I mean, 22.3 miles per hour. He's definitely in the four. He's definitely in the 4.3s. I mean, he's going to UConn, so like, listen, I can't find guys that I love that are always going to be in spots that I love. And I just wanted to bring out someone new that is just he's electrifying, and I don't know. Hopefully, he can catch passes. I have no idea if he can, but we'll see.
Well, and I like these from the Southeast. I mean, he's from South Carolina. I always like, no matter where their destination, I like if honestly they're from the Southeast. It's usually where a lot of these 3-stars come from that are kind of get overlooked because there's such high talent in the region that the 3-stars can fall through. But yeah, he looks blazing. All right, Matt, Jawan Boyd, another name for the people.
Yeah, another Alabama wide receiver out of Alabama here. And I think he's just a big time dog. 900 receiving yards this season, 14 touchdowns, another 300 rushing yards on the ground, and 4 rushing touchdowns. To me, he's honestly a lot like Mazeo Bennett going to South Carolina, who we all love. He's a lot along those lines because he's just very fiery player. He blocks really really hard. He's like very very hard to bring down. When he's running the ball. So I think he just has a really well-rounded skill set. Going to Troy, I mean, there can't be a lot in his way to get on the field at the very least. So I'm hoping he can make an impact there, at some point at least. And a 4-sport guy too, I believe, which we always love to see. Although his pure athletic grade is, maybe a bit lacking. I think I got him close to 21 miles per hour though. I should have wrote that down.
Look at that dog. He's got that dog in him.
It does not like to go down.
No. All right. My next guy is Jeremy Bell Jr. And this is just, a fun player who's got a lot of basketball highlights. That's something that we look for. He's very springy on the hardwood. Some alley-oop dunks where he's really throwing it down even in traffic. And so, like to see that. He's headed to Indiana, I believe. So should have a nice move there, splitting 2 defenders. But, he should have a chance to be used as a weapon. I mean, I envision him, at least early in his career, maybe just getting the ball in his hands, letting him use that athletic ability. I think he's raw as a receiver, but, when we're digging this far down, obviously the threshold for acceptable route running and things like that kind of goes down, and you're picking some fun guys. I think he could be fun going to a team that needs playmakers, honestly. So then let's see. David, Jameer Thomas is your 3rd receiver to look at here.
He is from Nowheresville, I think New York or something like that. Going to Syracuse. Yeah, like you said, you're not going to find many good route runners, so you might as well just go after some fun guys that are dynamic and can make plays. He's got some speed. Look at him. Look at those high knees there. But yeah, he does special teams. He gets tons of carries. He gets a good amount of receptions and a lot of it's yak. Going to Syracuse is like kind of a gimmicky system. Get him some low ADOT stuff. Let him cook. Let him cook after the catch. That's basically what I'm looking at, and then hopefully he can develop into a well-rounded receiver. But he's got quickness, really good high-level mover in general. So he's very deep, very interesting.
I like it. I actually like those clips quite a bit. Jameer Thomas. Okay, going to Syracuse. And then Matt, Derek Sally. Tell us about this guy.
This is actually a guy I saw that actually, I don't think he's on any of the services, or he's not ranked by any of the services. He was kind of a nobody before this season, and now he has just this year 108 receptions, 2,027 yards, and 20 touchdowns out of South Carolina. He can hit 21 miles per hour as a ball carrier, but we found some catapult data where he's well over 22 while he's in route. So he has the athletic ability. He has the production. He's got a few G5 offers, particularly Western Kentucky, which I would just love for him to end up there. So I think he's pretty well rounded. He can go up and get the ball. Another guy not really refined at all, but I think he's pretty good after the catch too.
Yeah, what are you going to do about the refinement?
After you go here, I have one tight end that I want to squeeze in real quick at the end.
Okay. All right. I got one player, and then I got a correction. I did find Jay Stuckey's. So if you're staying to the end here, you will get to see Jay Stuckey, the QB, after. I go with Jordan Martin here as my third sleeper receiver. He's headed to Texas State. We've talked a little bit about Texas State tonight. Very fun offense. But, when we talk about refinement, I actually think that was one of the things I wrote down. I mean, he's very fast, 10,600 meters, I believe, per huddle, which you don't always see that on huddle, but they had him at 10.6 and going to a very fun offense. When you watch his tape, like he's just always alone. Obviously not on a return here, but showing some return capabilities. You love to see that, fighting through traffic to get to open spaces, and then, just completely pulling away 10 yards away from the guy by the time he gets to the end zone, and a lot of separation. Additionally, I would say, as far as the guys we've been talking about, he has shown, it's not on that tape, but like some ins, some curls, some kind of, breaking routes where he has to hit the brakes, turn around, catch a ball. So in terms of refinement, we're talking about route running. I think he's got more of that than some of these other guys. And so he's a pretty interesting prospect. He's small. That's probably why he's low rated. I think 165 would be generous. So he's kind of a small wide receiver. But that's my third sleeper receiver. Now, I want to play Jay Stuckey. This was a dual threat guy going to Eastern Michigan. I think David likes him too in the chat. He was kind of giving him a shout out. But let's just watch him real quick. And, wouldn't want to not show this guy because he's very fun. His high school colors are the same as Eastern Michigan pretty much, so he's going to feel comfortable. But you can see here, that's a pretty good throw on an out route, putting it where his receiver can get it. That's another one there on an out route. So, showing kind of a big arm. Didn't see a whole lot there from his running ability, but like I said, I'm pretty sure, David, am I right? 800 yards the last two seasons in each of the last two seasons, I think. I don't know if you remember off the top of your head.
I don't know if he ran that much last year. I know definitely, he's over 800 this season. And like his passing efficiency is like really good this year. I think his QBR is like 145. So like he definitely, and he's like really light on his feet. And I thought his arm was good considering he's kind of a little bit of a scrawnier guy. Like if he can fill out and strengthen it even more.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Eastern Michigan, and I don't think they have a good quarterback, right? Austin Smith, he's not good, right?
No,
so
they've been bad this year. So I think they're probably hoping that something comes along. All right, Matt, tight end sleeper for all the degenerates out there, and then we'll get out.
I actually have a clip for him too if you want to pull up. Travell Frederick.
Okay, got it. Let's go.
Tight end committed to Tulane, and he actually committed to Tulane back in March of last year, and then proceeded to get 5 SEC offers, including Alabama. But he is still committed to Tulane, and I think the services are kind of missing that part of it. He's very, very fluid for his size. Probably not a guy that's going to test off the walls, but I think he just moves very, very well. He's a decent blocker too. 6'3", 235. And he especially did really good this offseason in the 77 and 1v1 circuits. He's really just cooking guys out there, getting open, creating separation versus just straight up corners, which I think is impressive for a player his size. So definitely someone to look at to be a potential CFF tight end producer.
Okay, that's a great name. I think it's a great one to finish on, Travell Frederick. So those are your current latest installment of our 3-star guys. Kind of, we called it an unranked show. But we'll have more as the offseason goes along. But yeah, that's 9 more names, or no, gosh, 9 times almost 27 names for you guys out there who are looking to add at the end of your drafts or have waiver wire, priority, watch list type guys when we get into draft season. So thank you for joining us. This has been The Official. We'll see you next time.